Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So a bill that was released just this year, which would increase benefits for everyone across the board by 2%, and the special minimum benefit by $485 per month, is racking up tons of support, and they're really trying to push this through Congress and be signed into law by the end of this year. So we're going to be giving an update on that bill. Plus, according to the Senior Citizens League, everyone on Social Security benefits is expected to receive a 50% cut in their cost of living adjustment for next year. So we'll be giving an update on that as well. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Okay, so as we all know, every single year there is something called the cost of living adjustment, or the COLA for short, and depending on what the CPIW inflation data metric comes in at, that is going to be the cost of living adjustment. So for this year, of course, that was at 8.7%. That was the highest in 40 years. However, the good thing is it's good, but also bad. It looks like, according to at least the Senior Citizens League, for next year in 2024, it does look like that's going to be coming down to right around 3%. So that is going to be slashed in half, at least when compared to the COLA for this year. So according to Yahoo Finance, Social Security, 50% cuts are coming for boomers' cost of living adjustment next year. And of course, that would be for everyone, SSI, SSDI, and for those receiving Social Security retirement benefits. So the Senior Citizens League predicts that the next year's COLA increase could be just 3.1%, less than half of this year's 8.7%, which was the largest gain in 4 decades. The COLA is calculated based on inflation in the third quarter, July, August, and September of the prior year. Thanks to rate adjustments by the U.S. Federal Reserve, inflation has slowed over the last several months. So, of course, next month on August 10th, we're going to be getting the first month of the 3-month data, and then we're going to know what the official COLA is going to be for next year on October 12th. That is when the last month's data for September is going to be released, and we're going to be able to compare the third quarter of this year's inflation to the third quarter of last year's inflation, and however much it's gone up by, well, that is going to be the COLA for 2024. So again, it looks like it's going to be cut in half to around 3% when compared to this year's at 8.7%. So there's some good news and bad news to this. So we're going to start out with the bad news. The bad news, of course, is that the big payment increase that we all saw across the board, because of the 8.7% increase, is going to be going significantly down, because it's only going to be 3% or perhaps less, maybe slightly more for next year, but it's going to be cut down in half. Of course, the good news with this is that inflation is just not going up at the same pace that it was, last year. It's still going up, it's not coming down, but it's just going up at a slower pace. That means that whatever we're receiving in our check every single month, well, it's sticking to what the price points are for goods and services. So, if we were to receive like another 8% increase next year, but then prices continue to go up another 8% on top of that, well, then whatever we're receiving is just not keeping up with inflation. So that's the good news, that inflation is, not going up at the same pace. So what we're receiving, we're able to, pay for the same goods and services much more easily, because inflation is not, continuing to go out of control. But of course, over the years, really, quite frankly, COLAs have just not been keeping up with inflation, and what we're receiving in our checks is just not enough really to get by anymore, to pay for all the goods and services that we need, to pay for rent, to pay for your mortgage, to pay for groceries, gas, everything else. It just, life is just becoming way too expensive. And the average American receiving these Social Security checks, they're just not able to pay for, their lifestyle with what they're receiving. And that's why we have one lawmaker in John Larson. Well, he's proposing a bill that would increase benefits for everyone by 2% across the board. And for those of you receiving the special minimum benefit, that would be an increase by up to $485 per month, to put that at 25% above the federal poverty line. So he was actually on the floor pretty much imploring all of his colleagues in the House, like, if you support Social Security, if you want people to live with dignity and be able to keep up with the cost of living adjustments over the years, well, why don't we at least vote on this bill? Because, we have this bill, we have lots of support for it. Why don't we just vote on it, see who says yes, see who says no, and try to get this passed by the end of this year. So we're going to be watching this clip by Larson, and then we're going to be coming back to briefly talk about it.
I also rise today, Mr. Speaker, to talk about the 88th birthday of Social Security. That will take place on August the 14th, and we're calling upon members all across this nation, joined by great groups like the National Committee to Preserve and Protect Social Security Works, the AFL-CIO, and the list goes on. But please save the date as a day to action. A day to action because Congress hasn't taken any action. In fact, it might interest people in the gallery to know that Congress hasn't done anything to enhance Social Security in more than 52 years. And here we find ourselves in the midst of a pandemic that in this country has impacted people over the age of 65 more severely than any other group. Slightly over 1 million people have perished. Over 856,000 are over the age of 65. Those same individuals are the ones that, because of global inflation, have found themselves in a situation, as people on fixed incomes often do, that they are the ones that are most severely hurt. And so, as Reverend King would say, the fierce urgency of now is upon the United States Congress. And what are we asking the United States Congress to do? Vote. How hard is that? Whether it's in the United States Senate or whether it's in the House of Representatives. Everybody claims how much they respect and love and admire Social Security. If that's true, then why don't we vote on it? It hasn't been enhanced in 52 years. The last time something was done in 1983, Ronald Reagan was president. Bob Dole ran the United States Senate, and Tip O'Neill was Speaker of the House. And they extended Social Security at that time, its solvency, but they didn't do anything to enhance the program. I dare say that things have changed a lot since Richard Nixon was president in terms of the cost of procuring goods and services in this country, and yet we have not done anything as a Congress to enhance the benefit of the more than 66 million people who are on Social Security. That number will exceed 70 million within a year and a half. 70 million of our fellow Americans, and here's the real deal, 5 million of them get below poverty level checks from their government, having worked all their lives, paid into a system to get an earned benefit, and find themselves getting a below poverty level check because the United States Congress has not acted on their behalf. 23 million fellow Americans get taxed on their work in their job for what they're doing, and they shouldn't be. That tax should be eliminated. There needs to be an across-the-board increase for all Social Security recipients. That's why we call attention to this day of action. The day of action that's needed most, though, is by the United States Congress, and for us to act bipartisanly across the board and make sure that people are getting the benefits that they've richly earned. 10,000 baby boomers a day become eligible for Social Security, and still Congress does not act. America, rise up. Prevail upon your members of Congress to act. And by act, I mean vote. Vote to bring Social Security 2100 to the floor for a vote. Vote in the Senate to bring those bills forward. If you've got a better idea, if you've got a better plan, lay it out there for the public to see. But for God's sake, vote on it for the sake of the American people. The American people deserve more from their Congress than lip service. They need action.
The gentleman's time has expired.
So there we have it. John Larson is saying, why don't we at least vote on the bill? What do you guys think? Maybe they should just put it on the floor, see who says yes, see who says no, and let's try to pass something that's going to do something good for Social Security and really help these beneficiaries out. But let me know what your thoughts and comments are below. Should we try to pass this bill? Is there something else that you would like to see included in this bill before they vote on it? Let me know what your thoughts and comments are below. But that's all the news that we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.